See, some people burst, but I thrive under pressure. I hold them down from distance like I was playing catcher. I pray to God, life is crazy, you know he'll test you. For real. Yeah, you know he'll test you. I'm a living legend in the making, don't care what you think about it. The only time I step inside a bank is for deposit. Failure's always present, but for me it's not an option. Cause I gotta feed my family and I know the critics watch. They don't want to see you win, so they gon' try to stop it. A humble guy until you cross that line, then I'm a pop. Choking out the competition on my Sergi Baca. Don't associate with lames and haters, they are all imposters.
No off season. No off season. No off season. The real reason. The real reason. The real
reason. Oh, guys, welcome to episode 9 of the Process Show. Your host, DeAndre Presley, Mr. Keani Stevens, and we have a phenomenal guest, Mr. Reggie, the real reason.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me today. Appreciate you.
Man, we really appreciate you, man. This is awesome, man. I got to say, to be honest, I've never talked to a professional wrestler before. Never. So this is awesome. Awesome.
Well, this is the first for me and you. I've never had a podcast interview and sit down and talk about what I've been doing. I've just been doing it for some time now. So
yeah,
good to be here.
Well, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into wrestling?
Well, like everybody else, you start off somewhere young and you always wanted to, be a part of the magic and never had a clue about how to go about doing it. So of course, like everybody's story, my grandfather took me to shows, took me to a lot of the local shows in Wisconsin, Illinois. We see a lot of, some of the throwbacks, some of the old school styles is different from today. So as I got older, I never knew anything about wrestling schools, opportunity, the doors to get in there. Fortunately, I was able to go to a WWE Raw show one time and saw a fantasy camp passing out opportunities, and I took it from there. And the rest was history.
Dude, that's awesome. I used to watch WWF at the time. Yes. And then why did they change it? Like, why did it?
That was the Wildlife Federation. I believe the Animal Federation had some conflicts with the name, but they were using WWE, if I'm understanding that right. And they kind of was forced to get the F out. So
I didn't realize y'all couldn't hear me this whole time.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't. DeAndre, you saw my lips over here flapping. You thought I was just running my lips. You can't say you couldn't hear me. Crazy.
Now, I got a question for you guys, because obviously you follow wrestling. So I know you mentioned WWE or F. You guys follow other promotions back in the day, like NWA or something?
Yeah, look, listen, this is what me and my friends used to say, Reggie, when I was a kid. If you want to watch wrestling, we watched NWA. If we wanted to be entertained, we watched WWF. That's neither here nor there, good or bad. It's just I went to WWF to get my entertainment, to get my gimmicks, my Roddy Pipers, my Ultimate Warriors, my Macho Mans, because I hate Hulk Hogan. That's sideswiping habitual lion. So, but we'll get into that. Oh my God. Look, DeAndre was a casual wrestling fan. He ain't a deep wrestling fan like me. He knows Hulk Hogan, 24-inch pythons and all that. He don't know cut you off at the knees, side swipe you Hulk Hogan like I know Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Don't let nobody get me shine Hulk Hogan, because I used to hate it back in the day. I'm jealous of wrestling now because so many people get opportunity to hold titles. Back in the day, when you start looking at Macho Man having only 2 runs and the Roddy Pipers, not because Piper, the thing I respected about Piper is the reason why he never got the belt is because he wasn't going to give it back to him. And that's why he never got it. So I respect those guys. It's like there's a lot of guys that should have titles around their waist, but we'll get into him. Back to about you. When you were little, what was your favorite federation to watch and why?
Well, it's different flavors of ice cream. And I'll be honest, as much as what you said about Hogan, I'm not going.
You ain't got to do that. That's
but
my
that's what the corny, comical aspect of WWE or F back then is what got me in. I'll be honest. I grew up with my buddies they were all NWA. They were all, everything from the Carolinas, real wrestling, real. You had a different balance of flavor, and I wasn't on that at that time. I grew into that. I love it now. I love that aspect and going back to study any of that now. But honestly, the over-the-top, larger-than-life, colorful characters like the Hogans, the Warriors, Macho Man, like you said, Piper, man, the mouth. He wasn't the biggest guy, but the attitude and everything, that was it for me. That was it.
Man, Reggie, again, I'll be the first to say, like, I watched it more for the entertainment. Like, again, me and my cousins, like, we couldn't wait for Monday Night Raw. Like, we couldn't wait for it. So that's the extent of my knowledge when it comes to wrestling. But for me as a young kid, it's all just seemed so real to me. Like, all of it. Tell me how much of the wrestling is, or at least to me back then, it seemed so real. Today, it seems there's a lot of dramatization to it. How much of it is real? How much of it is, what percentage of it is real and what percentage of it is dramatized?
Well, it really depends on how you define it, because it's a craft. Everybody knows entertainment is a craft, but the realities of situations, what you put yourself through on the outside and every day, can't fake that. Can't fake that. I'm still dealing with certain injuries today. I bounced on the side and I just got into a little scuffle not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. And I've got a real, smashed up injury. My knuckle is like, I don't know if you can see it, down the middle of my hand from wrestling. And,
oh, wow.
Back is, you can't naturally throw your body around like that. The ring. You have to, you're in it to make money. It's entertainment. So you are trying to keep each other safe as possible. And so you can come back and do this again. But it is your situation where sometimes there's no love lost with who you're in there with. It shouldn't always be like that. That's the exception.
Yeah.
But it is a very real element on your body, your family, but in the aspects of us telling a story, entertainment, I think, at this point, everybody got to grasp what we're doing.
Yeah.
You, what I always tell people is this. Yeah, you take precautions and you know how to do it, but a 300-man fall on you is still a 300-man falling on you.
Just get ready. Yeah. Ready to eat. That's what you can do.
And from wrestling, from the biggest platforms to the smaller, all those rings aren't equal. Some of those rings, you might as well just fall on me on the regular concrete.
That is where a lot of injuries come from. I don't know if you just seen recently Bobby Lashley, where he took that, hit the ropes. As big as this guy is, he hit the ropes and he went back and that snapped just like that. So preparation for anything that can and will go wrong in there, from divots in the boards, mats and messed up, sprained ankles, you mess up your vertebrae in different ways. So if you don't check that ring, every ring is not plush. It's not a trampoline like a lot of people believe. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was. I'll be honest with you.
No,
I thought it was
wood, and you may have a little bit of foam underneath on top of that wood and iron. But those wire ropes, you've got different type of ropes. So you beat yourself up a lot and you learn to absorb it after a while. But it's no way you don't wake up every day and not feeling it after me. So
I've been fortunate to play in some rings, and I've been in boxing rings that have more cushion than some of these wrestling rings. So, and you think a boxer is not falling on the mat unless he gets knocked out. That's it. So he's right in terms of that. The injuries are real. You can only pull a punch so much. You're trying, just like an actor, you are trying to sell what you're doing.
Right.
So the softer you hit a guy to fake it, the faker the punch is going to look. And that's how you separate the really good from the really not so good.
Well, there's a thing in the business, you call potatoes. Sometimes you get someone in there and you might have some real issues, or they may have what you call snugged you a few times. You may get a couple of those shots. So just to wake them up, you might catch a potato, but you laying it in a little bit thicker. So there's situations, man. I can go into other stories of situations where stuff happens in there, but usually it's a family-orientated based structure. So you got people from every background coming together, no matter what race you are, no matter what demographic, and you working together for one finished product. And that's one thing that is ultimately about.
What was the moment for you as a kid that you were like, or when was the moment for you where you were like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life? Like, I know that it's wrestling. This is it. When was that moment for you?
Piper Spit.
Yeah.
He ripped that chain off his chest. He had the cross on at that time, matter of fact, and he had dug his nails right across into Hogan's chest, and you see the blood, you see the emotion of Hogan. And I was real emotional, like for real at that time. I was like, being such a Hogan, what they call Mark fan, I'm still am today. I'm a fan of, all the business. I don't maybe I'd agree with everything that's transpired. Mm-hmm. But just the raw emotion and being able to like sit back and now look back at Piper's part in that as the instigator, as the, that mouthpiece, and just the dramatics of them building up to something that, now is iconic from WrestleMania 3. That moment, kind of sold it for me. I was hooked, and there's many more down the line, but that was it.
I have a profound respect for those guys who cut out, and that with any job, it's not just wrestling. Any job, there's politics. We all know that there's politics. I have so much more respect for like the Undertakers of the world who kept it real with people when you would come out. Talk about that, like when you would go into a locker room, whether it's your first time or you've been there, and those guys who were authentic about their intentions and what they wanted to do and helped you grow, besides those guys that were just looking out for themselves. You don't have to name anybody that was looking out for themselves, but I just want you to talk about how you dealt with those different mentalities and which are the type of wrestlers that you respected the most and how they carried themselves.
I've been fortunate. Granted, I've never signed a major deal, but I've been very, very close to the radar, around a lot of talent who has. Like I said, I'm not going into a lot of names, but I just realized the higher up you go, there's a bigger appreciation and humbleness with a lot of these guys that, and I'm not knocking anything on the lower independent scene, because there's a lot of humbleness and respect there too. But I've seen more of egos and self. I got to get there, get in the way at that level. But whereas there's locker rooms and levels where guys have already got that TV shine, got certain levels and got a certain stature, if you will. And so there is a respect to protect the craft. And no matter whether you had a contract, didn't have a contract, you were treated at a certain level of respect by guys you wouldn't even, like guys I looked up to, guys that I consider, models that I'm trying to chase after. So that's one thing I've noticed, and I try to carry that myself. So when I go back to the independent scene and I'm wrestling with younger guys and I want to help put my own ego aside to put the product over, get them in the spotlight, so that helps me, because if I can make you like $1 million and we both look like $1 million, that's the goal.
DeAndre, what I'm asking him about, because I always DeAndre used to play in the NFL. There's no minor league for the NFL. People say college, but that's a whole different discussion. You know how baseball has Major League Baseball, then they have AAA, AA, and all that. And what he's talking about is being on the biggest platform, MLB, and being a star, and then the next thing you know, you're down there in AAA. And some people can deal with working themselves to get back, and some people that can be ultimately deflating. That would be like when you were in NFL, DeAndre, they say, well, you know what? You're not really hot right now, so we're going to send you to Canadian Football League, and we'll might bring you back if you get back to this level. So when you saw guys and that happened to, I know you saw some that worked themselves back up, and then you saw some was deflating. How did you handle that? Because when I look through your bio, I see that roller coaster effect. It almost looks like you're about to break it, and then there's a setback. How did you deal with that, and what did you see around you and how people dealt with that? Did they hear any of that?
I heard it. That was directed to Reggie, right?
Could you hear me?
I hear you. You were directed towards me, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, how did you handle? Because I was reading your bio and I saw where you would get to certain heights, and then there was like 2 steps back, and then you pull yourself back up. What was helping you get to that point to where you were pulling yourself back up?
Just remembering my groundwork. honestly, my first year in the business, I want to say that was like late 2003.
Mhm.
I had a certain year that kind of got to my ego, my head, because after that first year in the business, I got a lot of great feedback. I was
Mhm.
able to go to WWE's farming system, like at that close at an intermediate level, right to get ready to sign the developmental contract. So right then, I was like, I got this. I'm there, because after all these years of wanting it, and then I got stagnant. I bust my tail, but it just wasn't my time. It wasn't meant to be. So I was there for at least 5 years under there with no contract. I watched a lot of comrades and people, passing by, flying on Raw, on SmackDown, on this, and so I'm going harder and harder, and to the point where it went even further down and took me to independence, where I found the newfound humility, if you will, because I see people trying to come up to where I just left and go beyond that, and I felt like I saw the opportunity. Well, instead of sitting here being bitter or being, well, maybe there's something wrong with what I'm doing, I figure out ways to repackage myself, work with people who are trying to take that plight back up, and it sparked something in me, So I felt like now I took an enjoyment being an independent scene and realized that my whole original goal, yes, it was to excel as far as I can with this thing, but it was also to be a wrestler, and I'm doing it. And I'm having some of the best experience I have. So no matter what happened, every time opportunities were open up, whether it was like TNA gut check or different things, I got on and I would get another spark again. But ultimately, I just kept my feet grounded and realized that, I'm still in this business, and I dreamed of being a professional wrestler first. So no matter what happens with this, if I can help somebody else get to that level that I maybe didn't attain to, or help from my mistakes or anything, I took that approach.
That's good, man. Tell me, so as I was reading the bio that you wrote, you talked about the reality check.
Yeah.
How did that how did that move come about?
Honestly, it all started with a name first, and homage to Piper. Homage to Roddy Piper, because he was on WCW, brought out the old reality check shirt. And just being in the area where I was from growing up, as a kid, I already had my name, I thought, geared. I was like, I'm just gonna be the real. I don't know, that's it, just the real. You can't be just the real, you gotta have more to that. But I'm the real, and I got the reality check. I'm gonna hit you with it. Boom, that's it. that was it. Yeah, it varied over the year because I tweaked the actual execution of the move, and I didn't really get to implement it very long, as I kind of mentioned, because by the time I, created the whole persona of the real reason, that kind of came about happenstance with trainers. But anyway, the move itself became a moniker of somebody else who had TV time at that time, down as I was down.
Yeah, it's so that
So I was like, oh crap, maybe we can make an angle and do something with this. It wasn't the stars. So like I said, at that time, being younger, I had my own feels about it. And I salute the individual and everything they've been able to excel to do at this point. And they don't use it anymore either. But nonetheless, I had to revamp and go a different direction. That's kind of where the honorable judge reason came out of the, whole package. So
If you're wondering what superstar he's talking about, we're not going to say the name of the Miz on this show. So, hey, you know what?
Still awesome.
There's so many moves, DeAndre, in wrestling. If somebody more famous is doing, you tweak it a little bit, and instead of the stunner, you call it the diamond cutter, and then you call it the RKO, and then the sleeper hold's been 90 different names over the years. The stunner becomes the bookend. The rock bottom. So it's like you find these little tweaks. So it happens.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, man, like in football, I'm sorry, like football, we steal. We don't steal.
You already said it. It's too late.
we like, I play receiver, and like you would watch, Jericho Cotry, how he released, and you watch Steve Smith, and you would watch this guy, and it's like, oh dang, I like that, and I'm gonna use that, and it just becomes more of an appreciation for like, I like what he did versus man coverage, and it's like they wouldn't be like, oh man, you stole my move, like.
Well, if you can physically do it. We've seen people try to do someone else's move and it not turn out quite too well.
Yeah.
Because in your head you saw yourself doing it, but your body was doing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing in the wrestling business. If you have a certain thing or a move, and you
Uh-huh.
can go out and get it established for a long period of time,
Mhm.
all power to you. You're going to start to be associated and established by that. Or if you have that exposure, that's the. If you are somewhere, like I say, where I was, I didn't have a contract. I wasn't developmental yet. So if you got the TV time, if you are out there, you can throw different things on the wall, and it happens all the time. And you hear a lot of rumbles because people will take something somebody else is doing and using and tweak it and make it their own. But there's a respect or a certain way that you do that is how you go about utilizing something if somebody's actively using it. So,
Especially one that somebody created. Plus, he's not here to judge anybody unless it's going by the honorable judge reason. Then he'll judge away. I want to talk to you about legit. My favorite thing to talk about in wrestling is legitimate tough guys, and we all know the stories. I think he was voted toughest man in wrestling, Haku, and I met him before in real life, and so all the stories made sense when I met him in real life. But I see you on a picture with another tough guy, Harley Race. He was known as a tough SOB. And then there was one guy that I said he would scare the shit out of me if he was my father. That's that damn Ron Simmons. I tell everybody, if you want to know what a man is, go look at Ron Simmons. That's a full grown man. And you were talking about earlier about it's a family. These guys keep in police as a family, because I remember when Public Enemy went to WWE and was doing that nonsense, and they put him in a match with Farouk and Ron Simmons and Bradshaw, and they never came back. Got a lot of potatoes in that.
Absolutely, yeah, whole bag. But yeah, I mean, their background is legitimate, and as far as what they've done before you even got into the wrestling ring, and you have to have some kind of, you've got shooters, you've got grapplers, what they call them, and different hookers. This goes back to different eras of how to regulate the business, so not everybody could come in and start ruining the business, and it was filtered. So you had a thing called even Wrestler's Court was a thing. That's kind of where I got the judge whole idea, at that particular time, because there's a legitimate thing where you got Wrestler's Court, and you had people like Taker, for example. He's one of the judges in the back locker room. Something goes, astray. You got people who will check people to keep the business protected and intact. And there's, like you listed, a list of legitimate tough guys that make sure they enforce it.
Yeah, you're not messing with those guys. You shoot.
No,
you do like Demon. Hey, Ron Simmons told me to shut up. What'd you do? I shut my ass up. What did you do when he walked away? I started talking again.
He's a good man, good guy. He'll talking to me a lot, but some you don't play with.
What classifies a wrestler as like this is a tough SOB? Again, like in football, like somebody's tough is like dude's nose is broke. He done broke his left ankle, but he's still out there playing. Like, it's like, damn, like he's tough. Like, what classifies a wrestler as, you guys see it and like, dude, he's that dude. How do you define that?
You got wrestlers now who are great athletes, entertainers, but some of them may have never been in a physical real fight. To be honest with you, you got guys from a different era that have a legit background, been in real situations, like, and then just pure toughness. Like for Vader, for example, he's wrestling with the eyeball popped out, and he keeps going, pops it right back in. There's certain, and there's certain elements where that's what defines, who's have a certain stature and who is like, all right, well, he's an entertainer, he's here. So,
can you tell those people the difference between those people who like, they done been through some stuff, and the ones that are like, he's gonna fake it till he make it?
I try not to judge on that. I give all, I encounter respect, and you really won't know until you get in there in certain circumstances and situations. It exposes a lot of real situations. Exposes a lot. So at that point, like I said, I try to treat everybody with fairness and not judge that. But then there's ones that, like he mentioned, how cool, hell, you are, You just know you can be word on the street, and there's certain ones you just kind of get that vibe off of. So for the most part, though, nowadays, since the business is completely different,
yeah.
compared to some of these tough guys we're talking about, and I'm not knocking anybody out today because I'm sure there's a level of toughness here today, but the grit from different eras, I think I was maybe fortunate enough to kind of still be on the tail end of my training when I got around them, because some of the trainers I had, they're a different breed than what's happening being taught now.
Yeah. And then you also have the resume. Some people have the resume. Like we all know Kurt Angle's resume for his whatever moniker he wants to do. He still has that resume. But you're looking at a guy like one guy you remind him of when you sent me a bunch of those pictures. It's the one where you have a red background. And I said, oh, he's giving me Bad News Brown vibes in this. I love me some Bad News Brown. I'm telling you, I did. Yeah. Love me some. I like those guys who were just like, he would never go into a faction or tag team. He stayed with his moniker. Like he attacked good guys. He attacked bad guys.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Yeah. I mean, I know for him, for example, he had a black belt, I believe, in judo, and he was a trainer for that type of thing. So he was like one. I fortunately, it's funny you mentioned that. I was doing one of the TNA camps, and I earned that nickname, Bad News, just for the whole persona and the movement. But yeah, he was another one I looked to, especially towards representation, because we didn't, and how the business was. I maybe didn't have a ton of representation, but him, Junkyard Dog, there was just a few that let me know, like, okay, maybe I got an opportunity in this thing at some point, and have to, have some my own representation in the business. So
yeah, Bad News Brown was one of the people think of Stone Cold, but he was one of the first people that would attack all sides. It was funny because Bomani Jones tells this joke, and like you were saying, looking for representation, we had them, but we didn't have a lot of big names. Like we know the JYDs and things like that. So they used to say, who was your favorite black wrestler back in the day? And he'd always go Dusty Rhodes.
You ain't lying, but I mean, we had them back then, but a lot of them were like, a lot of us were used as enhancement talent.
Yeah, because you know what? I remember my grandfather took me to 2 arenas, and when you're a child, you don't think about this stuff, DeAndre. You're just watching the wrestling. You don't think about the politics and anything else. And I saw it on Jim Cornette's show where he's like, yeah, we would go into towns and JYD would get a bigger pop than Hulk Hogan, and that didn't sit well. And that means like for instance, he was supposed to have a run with Jake the Snake, but when Jake the Snake DDT'd him, and the crowds are supposed to get mad and boo and cry like they always do, but they started chanting DDT, which was Jake's move, and so Vince was like, all right, scrap that, no battle. It's not happening. So when you get on that level, it's a lot about marketing than just
that brings me to my next question, because again, I don't know all the background of it. I just see what is put out on TV.
Yeah.
Did they protect the images of a lot of these of wrestlers, like you guys talk about Hulk Hogan, and like they're chanting DDT, and it's like no, we cannot do that. Like, did that happen a lot?
Yeah, because they invested a lot of money into that run for Hulk Hogan. So you thinking about, it's about how much money I just invested into this push. And Reggie, you tell me if I'm wrong. Because I'm speaking from the outside, of course. I don't have insider knowledge. Just during my research, when you go to push somebody, you invest dollars into that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about a whole lot of TV time, a whole lot of house shows, a whole lot of merch and everything. I mean, so obviously Hogan's that moniker, for that particular time frame, but you just had certain guidelines where you had to not only protect the business, you had to protect stories. So if you had Piper over here and Hogan over here, you're not going to see them going to Waffle House together over here. Nowadays that story is protected. If I hated you on screen, I better hate you everywhere else I go in life, and that better continue. And we better carry that and live that out. And then if I had a guy coming up, like you were mentioning with DDT, that just he's getting that reaction and pop bigger than my main star. You got a couple options. You could run with that, but if he's not your cup of tea, as far as like Hogan had the size, the look, and maybe Jake had the gimmick and the character, but he wasn't Vince's cup of tea. I mean, Hogan ran with the ball for God knows when, so he wasn't going to take his main prize possession. He's invest everything in to now put Kurt Hennig over or Jake the Snake over. because they were already over in their own rights. But he would find ways to complement somebody beside the main star. So there was always protection of different investments, and that was a big thing that guys took a lot of different ways, and even today is still going on. So
yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is that still happening today?
It is in its own different ways, and it's crazy because it's even happening at the lower levels where it's not a ton of money involved. It's now just more so. I don't know. It's happening for different reasons, but it still happens, and you roll with it, and it's not a universal thing I see on the independent scene, I should say, but I have seen it. So
one character I like, Reggie Hellraisers, because I love factions. Back in the day, there was only a couple. You had the Fabulous Freebirds. Factions means, usually it's more than two people. Two people is just a tag team. But then when you start adding members, it becomes a faction, DeAndre. So you had the Fabulous Freebirds, you had the Four Horsemen, and things like that. And so NWO, of course, made that blow out of the water. But you were in the Purge. And
yes, sir.
I like the Purge. I didn't follow indie as much as a lot of hardcore wrestling fans, but I knew and was aware of the Purge. Tell me about how that idea came about and how much you enjoyed doing that faction.
That was probably my favorite, honestly. That came about because of the Freak Show Nemesis. If you remember him, he's the founder of that situation. So he came up. It actually started with be honest, it was an all-black faction, and it was all smaller guys initially. So these three guys were just tired of being looked over, kicked around in the company, and so they grouped up, got their masks, weapons. Every other show, the lights would hit, sirens would go off. The biggest guys in the building would get laid out. They would find them in the ring, laid them out, and every time, and so it started to catch. It became a thing. And then he started to acquire more individuals to the faction. He started to get a big guy, Aaron Biggs, huge talent. So they got him to join the faction, and it really started to take off. Well, they were going to keep it where, you had three guys initially, three small guys and one big guy, and we had a female in the group. Injuries took place, and they had to find some more talent to jump in, and that's where I jumped in. And I was a little bit of an eyeball in there. I took the formation of the demented, twisted concept of the Purge, but I added my own over-the-top element of my own Reggie Reason character with it when I did the Hellraiser portion of it. So it was fun because you had to tap into your own individual collective creativity and still kind of come together as this group as one full representation. And we just got to run roughshod, like over companies we were going to, and start taking things over, taking titles. We're doing what we want, when we want. And it was reminiscent of like the NWO. So it was fun.
Yeah, I love factions. I love it.
Man, Reggie, for me, I'm have us go back a little bit. So when you first got into the thought of like, dude, this is what I want to do. What was what was your training regiment like? When you decided I'm gonna go full speed at this.
Right. Well, I always was in athletics. So I was playing basketball most of the time, chasing that dream for forever, and in the weight room for that. And I did football not long enough. I wish I had did that much longer. Got into it. I got into it too late. Senior year, I played it. And that physicality, man, it woke me up. It's like I got to find a outlet, and I knew it was wrestling because it had been there all my life, just coming up. So my regimen consists of just staying consistently, in the gym, trying to eat clean, hitting my, local track wherever I could constantly, and just trying to figure out how to find that door into the business. So I constantly stayed on my own personal discipline at that point, especially at that younger age. I mean, and then when they started doing contests like Tough Enough started coming out, I started cutting it up another notch. I've got to start working even harder because I got to get bigger. I got to get, all the elements to look the part to even try to get on a TV role at that time was consistent. So whether I was working out at home, gym, I just stayed busy, man. That was it.
Talk about what type of disciplines did you? I know you say you ate clean. Was everything you doing with just you? Did you ever have somebody training you at any point?
That's the part I wish. I never had any help. I was very isolated in my training, and that was probably part of my detriment. I never went with a workout buddy, workout partner. I would stay so tunnel vision and go myself or do things myself that it wasn't really until I actually got into the business and started meeting other workers and wrestlers, getting other tips and ideas and feeding off of that helped me elevate my workout regimen, different concept toward body parts, different things like that. So outside of taking the layman's approach, my father was in boxing, so I took some basics that he taught me for cardio, from the jump ropes, from different things that I already knew to work on. But outside of picking up things here and there and constantly staying isolated on my workouts, I don't think I had the professional push I needed until I got in the business, because even during the high school times with coaches, they would help so much. But I think I would have benefited more from having, any kind of mentor or trainer or something on the side to kind of help break some stale points that I was always hitting, where I hit plateaus through my workouts.
What was the time throughout this whole process? We know you went to different developments, OVW. OVW is one of the most, development had the who's who of people coming out of there, the Brock Lesnar's, the John Cena's, all of that stuff. Was there ever a point, or what was the biggest point, in case you had multiple points, where something didn't go your way, or just something happened, or did you just lose that desire? Like, was there ever a point where, like, you know what, this isn't going to happen, I need to go on and do something else? You were on the verge of quitting that passion of yours?
Yeah, I think there was plenty of points where I came to those crossroads. I would say towards the end of my stint with OVW, I probably got a little discouraged there at that point, because, like I said, I spent 5 years in, and everybody, it was like I became, I hate that term, bridesmaid, or however they put it, and I became that stagnant individual who was there, and I watched many peers of mine excel, and I was proud of them, but I couldn't figure out what my glass ceiling was. What was I doing not to break? At that time, I couldn't. At least I can look back now and look at myself and hold myself accountable for what I didn't do to reach out to excel and hit certain exposure points that I needed to hit at that time. So at that time, I was drifting off, starting a family, just got married. I was kind of like, I need to devote myself to, because I've been paying for this on my own dime. I don't have a developmental contract. I've been doing this on my own dime. You got that contract, okay, you got something coming in. I'm working multiple jobs, coming back to this training, and I kept at it, and kept putting in it. But now with a new baby on the way, I was like, all right, I got to reevaluate some things in my life, because this ain't paying a bill. And matter of fact, at that time, I had a crossroads, because I helped one of the agents from WWE fix his laptop. Matter of fact, I was working at Geek Squad, and he gave me a contact to pretty much put me on. It was an email to one of the talent agents, to one of the direct talent agents at the time. And that was the same time my daughter was being ready to be born. I'm like, if I pursue this, I could probably, I know I can put the time in. I know I can go ahead and knock this ceiling down. But now is the time. If I knock this down, I'm probably gonna be going for my family's newborn. I got my new wife at the time, and I'm debating, like, what do I want to do? Because if it goes the way I need it, and I'm going to try to shoot for it to go, I'm going to be gone on the road almost 250 plus days a year. And I'll be getting what I wanted, what I've always dreamed for all this time, but I'm not going to miss out on my newborn. Now I'm going to miss out. So at that crossroads, I was like, I think I'm kind of, I need to refocus. And I did, until I relocated to North Carolina, and the people who heard was like, oh, I heard you were at OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, and, I'm going to throw you in the ring. And I was kind of done with it. And they threw me in the ring, and the bug bit me again, and it still happens to this day. I say, I'm like, oh, I'm chill, I'm done with it. But as soon as it's always going to be there. It's one of them things that's always going to be there. Now I don't have so much of a, my focus is always to go out there and perform, have fun, entertain. But now my drive is not, I'm not looking for a WWE contract. I'm not even going for an AEW contract at the moment. And I feel like it's an injustice if I'm not going to go full-fledged and take it serious at the moment. I'm on other pursuits right now, as you know. That's why I'm working with you in the voice acting things I'm looking towards to. Yeah. But I've never turned down the opportunity to go step back in the ring, because it's always a passion of mine. Now, every time I do that, certain doors still start to open. So I know if I devote myself a certain way, if that's really the path I decide to go, it's a drive. It's just a drive thing that's to be turned on by me personally. So
Yeah, you mentioned that your ex-wife wrestled as well,
yeah.
correct? Was there ever a moment where when that opportunity and that door opened, that man, I could like really do this? And you had a daughter, right? Yeah, your daughter was born. Was there ever a moment or talks where you were like, man, like this could happen, like we could go do this? Like, I know we
Mhm.
may not necessarily have a home base because we're traveling, but at least like I'm doing this and y'all are with me and I'm still part of, that family is still connected. Were there ever talks like that to do it that way?
Initially, there were conversation talks, but I don't think, in her defense, she was kind of done with the pursuit. She was just having fun. She wasn't trying to
Yeah.
go that route. Man, where I was at, like I said, I thought I was done at that time too, until I started going. But then I did start getting opportunities for, like you were talking about the pictures with Harley Race. I got an opportunity to go up with Noah in Japan, and some other opportunities to have tryouts in different places from different parts of the states. And I was traveling and I was pursuing them, and those opportunities were still there. But again, it still boiled down to, all right, I'm doing this, but if I land what I want out of this, am I ready to deal with the consequences on me and my family at that particular time?
Yeah.
I really had to ask myself, because it was all fresh at that particular point. Usually I was chasing this thing as a single individual, just nobody attachments, no kids, no nothing. That's a different, by all means, at that point, it was, all about me at that at that time. But when that, I prayed for my daughter to get here, and she went through a hardship, just even getting here. So at that point, I
Mhm.
knew I was in a situation where I'm going on a whimsical hope or a dream of trying to make this manifest, because I wanted it all my life. I had to make a real life decision. That was hard, but it didn't turn down my love for the business or what I want to do with it. So
Plus, where you were, that a lot of people don't get that too. It's like they picture the pro wrestler on a plane, Learjet flying like Ric Flair. Or
yeah,
you're doing a lot of driving. It's city to city. You could be anywhere. You could be in 5 different cities over 7 days,
easy.
and that's all you driving.
Hmm.
You know,
Mm.
imagine if when you played in the NFL, DeAndre, if y'all had 3 games a week and you had to drive each one. You're playing San Francisco, then you're playing Kansas City, and then you're back in North
Oh,
Carolina, and all that driving's on you.
That was a daily.
I can't imagine it.
That was a daily. And you may get home maybe a couple times a month, if that, here and there, but that was it. So, and that part, the closer I got in the business and learned that type of stuff, because it's like you said, as the further I am out from actually getting to that point, I didn't understand that. I
Mhm.
get it. You watch them on TV, but you don't think about the house shows that are not on TV, like you said.
Yep.
You don't think about the TV shows, the pay-per-views, and the autograph signing over here. You don't think about that.
It's a
You get
lot of
there and you realize, this is a business, man. This is
yeah.
a real. You might love the wrestling aspect. This is a business that and that the reality of that, if you're being snatched from your family,
Mhm.
Hmm.
it
And
was
that's sort of
compromised.
like,
They have turned.
and you've had that experience too, Alondra. Like when you're thinking of going to NFL, you're thinking about the game, but you forget, well, you got to be at the Children's Hospital on Tuesday. We have a signing for 5 members. You're one of the 5 that's going on Thursday. And then like stuff like that would pop up with you too, right?
Oh yeah, but I wasn't like. I mean, I got hurt, and as I told you, Keanu, when I got hurt and I got cut from Carolina, like I got cut in like when my career was taking off, like where it's like I'm about to be a household name, and I got cut, and at that point, when I got cut, in all honesty, I was just like, man, fuck football, like no, I'm out, like no, I will not allow you guys to dictate what's going to happen. And I ran away from football, and that is one of the things that I regret. And I hate saying regret, but because I'm 32, and honestly I could still go play with these guys, and so that gets to me a lot. But I wasn't up there with, like, when I came out in 2012, man, RG3, Russell Wilson, good. Like all of the Andrew, like this was my draft class. I was at the combine with these guys. So for them, I got to see it firsthand when I played with the Dolphins and I saw Ryan Tannehill. He had to be at this event. He had to be here. There were certain events that I, as I was coming up and it was like, this dude got potential. We want him to go as well. But I saw it. I didn't experience it as to the extent that they did. But I do understand that it is, definitely a business. And I can promise you for a lot of them, they're just like, gosh, damn, like another signing, dude. Like, I just want to go to practice, watch film and play. Like that's all I want to do. But yeah, it's not that. I think it is a business, man. I will say that. And I guess the biggest thing I learned from football and playing is just how political it is. It is so political. And I think, when you're in college football, high school and college, it's like you're playing for the love of the game. Then you get to that level and it's like, I hate it. Like, I mean, I know you dealt with this too, Reggie, where you see people where you're like, there ain't no way. This dude is like, what? Like,
it's the nature of the beast, man. It's the nature of the beast. You do.
I know, because Reggie was just talking about Ohio Valley. I can understand that where you're doing something and you watch a guy come in and all of a sudden he's gone and you're like, wait a minute.
Seriously.
And you're like, oh, this guy ain't gonna make it. And then like, what? They picked him? That's who they picked. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, there's stories that I've seen that I salute anybody because however you get on, I feel like I sit back and I learn, through those process too, like what they did, what I didn't do, or different things like that. I don't want to knock, anybody that takes whatever plight. But I like, even for example, we had a huge tryout, all right, and when I say Laurinaitis told us to pretty much stay away from talking about the wellness program, which dealt with, about the years of the steroid situation where guys were messing with this and messing with that, and stay away from talking about that or any kind of drugs or anything. Like, stay away from cursing. Somebody gets up there, F your wellness program, and yada, yada, yada. No, they basically hit the 2 points he said to stay away from. And just like that, after they were done, they got the contract. I tried to follow suit and stay away from it. And I'm sitting back, okay, he said, don't talk about this. Watch your verbiage, watch your language, and I'm gonna try to be on my P's and Q's. I want this job. When I realized he wanted to see who had the gumption to, bump what he said.
Didn't shake the nest.
And he got the job. And I was like, light bulb came on. And then, so you see stuff like that is very political. A lot of different things are played. So it's like you can be brought up there for extra help or you're an enhancement talent on TV. If you go up to a catering desk and you're up there eating where all the rest of the talent comes in, the main contract talent, you might never see yourself again up there. Or it's little things you have to know where it's very political. Like, I mean, this part of it.
Yeah. Talk about that being talent enhancement, because I know, it's even when like that mentality, because in the process, we always talk about mentalities that could break certain people when you've been at a certain level, because we've seen big time headliners and then they become mid-carders and then they become the person that gets the next people over. Well, I mean, how do you survive mentally doing that when I'm just here to make this other talent look good? Because we've heard, we know wrestlers that made like Bret Hart could make anybody look good in the ring. Mm-hmm. Randy Savage could make anybody. Look how good he made the Warrior. The Warriors matches with Randy Savage look so much better than the Warriors matches with anybody. So talk about that. Is that the thing? You take pride in making that other person look good because that's what you're there for? Yeah.
I mean, you're known as what they call a carpenter, because you're building something now. And some of the best talents were actually enhancement talents. My trainer, Rip Rogers, he was one of the best at putting other people over, and he would go out there and you could go out there and have to make this guy look great. You got George South, guys like that, they will go out there and he's still doing it, but they're actually in the ring guiding somebody who may not be as well versed as a lot of times. You might have an enhancement talent who actually knows how to, there's different levels. Let me put it like this. There's different nowadays, especially there's different levels of enhancement talent, but especially back in the day, you've had guys who were more versed and trained in there who can lead a new guy who maybe look good. He looks great on screen, but he may not have the navigation or the psychology in the ring. So you can take this enhancement talent to put him over now and make him like $1 million, and now you got a star, so that you would take pride in that if you got that role, and then the different levels of enhancement talent I'm speaking of now, you got guys that can really work that may be on screen. They're now just brought in as a body, sometimes, and they can just be brought in. I need you to go ahead and make him look good, and he's going to go ahead and squash you and kill you in X amount of time, but we're trying to invest money in this guy. We need you to do that part. You get a little money, whatever. And that's what it is now today.
You got me with the squash because I'm not gonna say his name, but he told me a story once. He said, look, I was like, I help put people over, but damn it, I ain't doing no squash matches where you come out there and lay my ass out in 7 minutes. So he said the promoter said, well, how's $5,000 sound for them 7 seconds? He goes, well, who you want to squash me?
Right. Is this really a win or a loss for real? I mean, give me that.
He said, who you want to squash me?
Dude, that's awesome. Like, so in a way, would you say like talent enhancement? I mean, I get the gist of it, that it's, making this person look good. Are there any like mentoring within this? Because like in football, it's like, a rookie comes in, whatever position he is, and there's an OG in that particular position that he plays, and it's like, hey, you're coming here and you're going to spend time with this person. Does wrestling have anything like that, where there's a person that shows promise and it's like, man, we're going to invest in you, but we want you to know the business and to know how to maneuver your way through this thing? Do they do anything like that?
Absolutely. A lot of the big companies have agents, that kind of oversee what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're watching basically exactly what you're saying, when they get rewarded. You got certain enhancement talent that may end up getting rewarded for constantly putting somebody else over. They may now, okay, we want to do this with you. We want to take this story and build you now out of nowhere. So it just, depends on what they see, but there's plenty of mentoring opportunities. It depends on attitude, because I think a lot of it is now you have different generations that some may be ego-based. Like, for example, my father did not want me to get in this business because he didn't believe in taking dives, or losing, if you will, especially in his boxing background. He didn't believe in that at all. So, and I get where you were coming from, but this is a different nature of the beast in the business. So if I can help us all make money and I can go out there and do what I'm love to do, everybody's safe, they reward that in their own way. That particular merit to help the business and have a certain meekness and understanding of not letting your ego get in front of what you're out there to do. They monitor that, and then they'll pull you aside and they'll find something for you.
Have you had opportunities for you to do that? I know you mentioned talent enhancement, but have you had other opportunities to mentor people within this wrestling thing?
Oh yeah, I have. I've worked with, like I said, independents. I work with a lot of new guys that some of them are not even new. I'm watching some on AEW now and other places that I've had their first match with. So I don't know if they remember or not, but I had a chance to, promoter to bring me on and just like, I need you to go out there and give this guy 10 minutes, 7 minutes, and make him look this way, or have him put this over, present him in such a way that, he's believable, whatever the case may be. I'm going to go out there and deliver, because that's what I feel like is professional. All right, you call me in to do. That's what I'm going to try to provide you. So I have had that opportunity, and I've had my opportunity to go out and get my shine. Like, for example, Steve Carino brought me in his promotion one time because I was willing to do just that. I help a younger guy get over it a little. He needed some help for a last minute show they were putting on at a firehouse, and I got a call and I was there on the spot to help put everything I could over. The next thing I know, he started up a whole storyline for a year with me at the forefront and doing things I didn't see it coming. I was,
oh wow,
I was,
awesome.
that's how it works.
I got a question for you before we get into weekly wins, and I want to know who surprised you the most. And what I mean by surprising is a lot of people with any type of athlete, they don't know that this person might be the furthest from their character. For instance, you'll meet a guy and you're like, that guy has a PhD. I know, like D'Lo Brown. I saw you work with D'Lo Brown, and people don't know how
Yes.
freaking smart D'Lo
Yep.
Brown is. Oh, you see him like, look at this knucklehead, but D'Lo Brown is a freaking genius.
Yes, yes, sir.
Who was somebody that just surprised you in any way, like, wow, outside of the ring when you got to know them?
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna say, like, thinking off the top of my head, Big Show.
Mhm.
One of those that listen to him talk about his investments and different things he made in the business, being in WCW and the time, the things he's seen people squander things and lose things versus what he did with it, how he did it, what he did to the next step, the intelligence of the man. He was one of those. And I mean, there's a long list of plenty guys. Vader, Big Van Vader's another one. He's another one. Have a conversation with him, pulling me aside at a training camp and just sitting down and talk to me. I can go down the list without, because I don't want to just throw names out there like that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
There's a ton of guys, man, that you'd be surprised sitting down and talk to, things they know, things they can teach us, be under the learning tree.
Awesome. Well, we know what time it is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right.
It's the weekly wins, man. So we do this, I explain it every week. Every week we do weekly wins, and it's our way of being able to, with all the chaos and negative things that are happening in the world and things that may be happening in our lives, we take the time to focus on one thing that is going well and to say, man, this is something I'm grateful for happening. And so we call it weekly wins. My weekly win is tonight. I actually have my recording session for my vocals of a song that I'll be putting out here in the next few weeks. And this song is an amazing song. You guys will hear it and it will be big. And so I'm getting the opportunity to lay down the vocals, and it's like we're one step closer, man, to getting this project out. So that's my weekly win. Kiani, what are you laughing at?
Because I always love when people do that. Who's gonna say, hey, I got this song coming out, it's gonna be terrible? You should go listen to it. It's the worst thing.
That might be a gimmick. I'm about to try that.
Hey, look, man.
Give him a hard time.
I'm gonna do my own marketing. You know what I mean?
I always got to give him a hard time, Reggie. We like the guests to go last, so I'm gonna let you go.
Right.
I'm sorry, Dad. I should have turned the camera off, but I was laughing over here. It's like you go to a job interview. Hey, you should hire me because I'm going to be late sometimes, and sometimes I'm going to have an attitude. But hire me anyway. All right. Well, my weekly win is now it's permanent. I did my third week of Mondays on Weenie Live Trades. He does this segment. He does day trading, and we do this neat segment at noon where it's lunchtime with Keone. So we go on there and we talk about all kinds of stuff. Sometimes we talk a little bit about trading, but it's his little break from his trading day, and a lot of his subscribers have really liked it. So that's my weekly win. I look forward to doing that on Mondays and having Reggie on here. Now, this is a weekly win for me, and the reason why it's a weekly win for me is when we do this show, The Process, we usually talk about the process, who you were before, what you are in. But I kind of geeked out today and went off script a lot with wrestling stuff. So we got to get him back when he's like 77 and don't care about what he says about anybody. That's what we got.
Political correct. Yeah,
I like watching the podcast with the wrestlers now who are older, and they just say whatever now. They tell all the secrets. They're like, I don't like that guy. He was a piece of shit.
No, I'll have to get back with you on that one.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna check on you in 30 years, right. Reggie. We gonna do that.
Yeah, I might want to get back in the ring, so I got to watch it for right now.
All right. Well, that was my weekly win. Reggie, what was your weekly win this week?
Oh my God. This here, man. Thank you guys for having me on this show. I've never done a platform of any kind to really talk about a lot of things, and I've got plenty to talk about. Like I say, I'm just careful, like you just mentioned. I don't want to lift all the curtain and the veil back. I'm wait to 70 yet. But just being here, this was a huge opportunity to talk with you guys. Enjoyed it. Also, another weekly win. I'm kind of advancing my progress here, and since this is the process, I'm taking my next few steps with my voice acting pursuits. So I've got my equipment set up, got my little, as you see, everything going here. I'm getting everything soundproof. Got my business information set up. So I'm like, I got a long way to go. Long way to get started, but I'm willing to put in the work, man, because it's something I'm passionate about, enjoying. And this particular week has been huge for me and major to even have this particular outlet. So thank you.
No, we really appreciate it, man. I know for me, I don't like to talk about football because it is what it is, but it's really cool to learn more about the wrestling world. I mean, I was a fan of wrestling, not to the extent that Kiani or you were, but it's really cool to hear your story and just your love for wrestling. And I know there are a lot of people who are wrestling fans that love to hear some of this behind the scenes stuff that they haven't had a chance to listen to. So thank you so much, man, for coming on and sharing.
Absolutely, man. Hey, and I know you would fit right on in. I already know the business may need you to get a lot of transition from the NFL and everything else. So, I would love to see you in it if it's one of your things.
Talking about wrestling?
Yeah.
What's up, man? You know me, man. You know me?
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I dabble a little bit now.
I already know. I'll
dabble a little bit.
Let's transition. Like you said earlier, look at Ron Simmons, man.
Shoot, let me go ahead and stretch a little bit. I'll be out there.
Everybody stay tuned for future pro wrestler DeAndre the Pimp Presley.
It sounds good.